Hi everybody, I'm Rachel from Mrs. Rachel Brady, and this is my YouTube channel which is about family, food and home. I'm a stay-at-home mum. I've got an 8-year-old boy Arthur and a 6-year-old girl Beatrix, and they're at school. This is my first video back from about a month, just over a month's break, because had a baby. This is Stanley George. Apologies for like the fact that I have no makeup on. I've literally just put some lip gloss on and my hair is a bit of a state and I'm just in my scruffs, and Stanley has got a dummy in. Should we pull it out and just say hello? Or no? No. So yeah, this is my first video back. I've been meaning to get back on the horse and do a video for like, oh hello, here we go, it dropped out. That was lucky. Hello, say hello. Yeah, he can't talk yet. And today's video is meet Stanley, but also I'm gonna tell you about my birth story, because if I don't do it now, I will forget. So on the Wednesday, I was 39 weeks and I went in, I was 39 plus 4 or something like that, according to the hospital records, but I knew that I was 1 day shy of 39 weeks with my own dates, because I'm like pedantic about things like that. And yeah, I went to the midwife for a sweep. The Wednesday before, I'd also had a sweep and I went into a kind of false labour, and we spent the night in hospital and nothing kind of kicked off. I was contracting, but they never went anywhere. So this is a week later, I had another sweep at the community midwives at our local GPs, and it kicked off. So I came home. I'd been having a show all week. The week before, when that false labour started, I'd had a bloody show, and I'd been having a show all week. I had this sweep, and that night came home, was sorting things out for the kids. I texted Adam and said, come back sooner rather than later. He works in Manchester, which is an hour away on the train, because I could feel stuff going, and I'm really responsive to sweeps. And then we were all sat in here in the lounge, and I was feeling quite kind of contracty. I didn't make much of I didn't make a fuss about it, because the week previously I'd had all this and it went nowhere. So I thought, this time round, I'm not going anywhere until I'm sure. And then anyway, I stood up, and this is at about 6:30 in the evening, and my waters, I had a really strong contraction, and then my waters just went. I phoned my mum and said, my waters have just broke. She'd just got back from work, bless her. She was like, oh, have I got time to have something to eat and get dressed, or shall I come now? And I was like, I didn't want to say like, no, don't have anything to eat, don't get dressed, but I was like, yeah, maybe come now, because I'm feeling like it's getting going. I'd also done hypnobirthing on the build up to this, but what I found in my personal experience on this birth was that, basically, to cut a long story short, with Arthur, my first I had a C-section, I didn't labour at all. With B, I had a back-to-back labour, and it was incredibly painful, and I thought it was incredibly painful because she was back to back. However, this labour went down the same route. So as soon as I kind of started, within half an hour of my waters breaking, it ramped up so fast. In my personal experience, I couldn't engage with the hypnobirthing stuff. I was trying to, and I just couldn't. So what I was actually doing was just getting from one contraction to the next. I was getting a bit tearful because it was really painful. Every time a contraction came, I was like pushing against the wall and kind of just, and I just remember thinking, this is what it was like with B. This is going to be one of those labours, really painful, oh my goodness. So maybe it was that kind of didn't, that thought process didn't gel with like my hypnobirthing. I just couldn't get to that place because I was in a lot of pain. And I don't want this to be a negative birth story, because I didn't feel like it was a negative birth experience. It was painful, but it was fine, and I dealt with it. So my mum arrived, we got in the car. I had a bit of a cry as I was getting in the car, because I was like, oh my goodness, this is really intense. Like this is really intense. It's just like it was with B, and I was kind of hoping it wouldn't be like that. And then so it was like a 50-minute drive to the hospital. And we got to the hospital, and even it was just like with B, even getting from the car to the hospital was really hard, because I was like crossing the car park, and it was like kind of 8 p.m. and there's like still lots of people milling around. I found it, oh darling, I found that quite humiliating, like just stopping because the contractions were like every couple of minutes apart, and just stopping every few minutes just to like push against a wall and start crying and like freaking out a little bit. Got in there, they didn't even put me in triage because they could see that I was like not in a great place. I wasn't very relaxed or anything. I didn't need to be assessed, this was happening. So they just popped me into a room. I could tell by the way that they were acting that it was a really, really busy night. So I had a student midwife and a midwife. The midwife was about a bit older than me, so like early 40s. And the student midwife was about 18, well no, she can't have been 18, 21, something like that, 21, 22. They were lovely, Megan and Lisa, and I still need to write them a card. I just got on the bed, all the stuff that you want to do, all the stuff that you've brought, everything, for me, it just goes out the window, and I don't know why I didn't remember this from last time. I was just like, I can't remember what I wore now, what was I wearing? I think I just kept on my vest that I had on. I mean, to even think about putting on that nightie to give birth in, which was what my plan was like, who gives a shit what I'm wearing? I'm in so much pain right now. Yeah, so I was on the bed just like gassing air. I was like, I need something else, I need an epidural, I need some morphine. So the first thing, they gave me some morphine. They had to get a cannula in, and the cannula, when they put it in, was really, really painful. I'm sorry, I keep just talking about how painful it was, but this is the truth. I'm just being completely honest with you. I was like, the cannula hurts so much. So I had one in each arm. Can't remember what for. I think it was because I had a big blood loss with my first or something like that, so they wanted to have a cannula ready. Don't ask me what time that was. It felt like forever until they gave me the morphine. From that point on, I was suitably off my tits. Which made things kind of easier to deal with. So the anaesthetist came in and said, look, we're really busy tonight. If you want an epidural, we need to get you in the queue. And me and Adam were like, yes. And Adam was very much like, yeah. I think you really need to get in this queue for an epidural. But stupidly, as the night progressed, I decided not to top it up because I wanted to feel everything. Oh God, why did I decide that? Yeah, so as the night progressed, the whole thing kind of kicked off in hospital about 8 o'clock. They kept checking me and I was making really good progress. And then they said, look, we'll check you every couple of hours or whatever. And then they checked me at like 4 a.m. or 3 a.m., something like that. And they were like, you're 10 centimeters. So that's relatively fairly quick. I know it's not like super quick. But it's been the quickest of my labours. Yeah, so the consultant kept coming in and checking on us as well, and the head midwife kept checking on us. And then they were like, right, we're at the pushing stage. Adam was exhausted throughout the whole thing. I think he found the whole thing just really, really tiring and exhausting, which always makes me laugh because it's like, I'm the one going through it, but you're really tired. But to be fair to them, I think it is quite a hard experience to watch someone that you love really in pain. Yeah, so at that stage, I think I'd said to Adam, I'll put some music on, we just need to be distracted. We spent the whole evening just like chatting to the midwife and the student midwife, really bonded with them, they were amazing. In between contractions, I kind of really enjoyed myself, like just chatting away because I was really off my face as well. So it's just like a really kind of mellow experience in between the intense pain, if that makes sense. I could still feel the contractions really quite strongly. But I kind of that was where I wanted to be. However, when they all gathered round and I was pushing, and then they were talking about episiotomies, and they said, look, we're gonna have to cut you to get the baby out because it's right there, but it's just not coming through. I said, yeah, just do it. And then I was like, press the button, press the goddamn button. So I was like pressing the button, and I could feel it. It was bearable. For me, it was more, because with B, I'd had a block out epidural because they were prepping me for theatre because she was in distress, so I did not feel a thing when they cut me. So I was like, yeah, go for it, this is great, I can't feel anything. With Stanley, I did feel it, and I just remember seeing the implements and going, whoa, don't want to see that. So I had a cut and I had a little tear as well. But saying that, being able to feel him come out of me was really amazing, and I wouldn't take that back for anything. And then they put him on me and it was amazing, and I was just really emotional, although quite dazed and confused and a bit out of it still. And then Adam, poor Adam, he looked a bit like he had PTSD. So I told him to go home. Who does that straight after they've had a baby? I said, you look really, really knackered. You should go home and get some rest. And him, in his state of shock, went, are you sure? Okay, okay. So then he drove home at like 5 in the morning. And then I had an almighty crash. So after the endorphins were wearing off a little bit, although they were kind of still there, I was shaking a lot. I think it was all the drugs and all the adrenaline. I popped Stanley, but he was too sleepy to breastfeed. He wasn't breastfeeding at all. So they put him in the little bassinet next to me. And then the lady came in to hand express. I have like a phobia, aversion, whatever you want to call it, to hand expressing myself. I can't do it. Don't ask me what that's about. And someone came in, a maternity assistant who was lovely, and just hand expressed for me some colostrum into a cup, and we gave that to Stanley. And by that point, I was, you know, I'd spent a long time being sewn up. I'd lost a lot of blood. I found out since I lost 800 ml of blood, which is officially a hemorrhage. I'm just looking at the time. Oh my goodness, this is taking so long. I had a real crash for about an hour where I just wept, and I was so hot and so itchy, and like it was like the drugs coming out of your system. And I felt like shit for about an hour, and I just lay there naked, not giving a shit who saw me naked, just like crying and feeling so vulnerable and thinking, why have I just sent Adam away? I really need him. But it was totally my fault. I insisted that he went home and got some sleep. So I rang my mum. The lovely midwife said, why don't you ring your mum? And then the midwives changed shifts, and I really didn't gel and didn't click with the new midwife that came on. I just found her really cold. I really struggled with her. I really wanted my other midwife back because we'd really bonded, and yeah, I struggled with connecting with that lady. And then my mum came, and I had a good cry, and I was like, I want my old midwife back. Well, as soon as Adam came back, and my mum, bless her, left, everything just started. I just started to pick up and feel a bit more with it and a bit more conscious and awake. We just kind of fast-tracked everything as much as we could and put a bit of, not pressure on, but we kind of said, look, we want to go home. We've got 2 kids to get back to. And I knew as well that I would have more success with breastfeeding at home with Adam helping me than in a hospital. I hope you enjoyed listening to my birth story. If you are pregnant and you've not had a baby, please don't focus too much on the kind of painful aspects and things like that. It's a fine line, isn't it, between telling new mum or mums to be the truth about childbirth and how painful it can be, and kind of the whole hypnobirthing positive stories thing. This is my truthful, honest story about what happened with my 3rd birth. You know what, I would do it again tomorrow, because what you get in the end is so worthwhile. I mean, literally, he is just an absolute dream, and I'm completely head over heels with Stanley George. By the way, he was £8.14, so he's a big whopper. And so that's all for now, guys. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment below to say hello. And yes, it's really nice to be back. And apologies for the kind of pale, washed out appearance. In my next video, I will try harder to look like I've got my shit together. Okay, guys, bye.